My name is Bill Leedy. I'm with the Polk County Master Gardeners, and I want to welcome each and every one of you to our Arbor Day celebration today. We're here to not only celebrate Arbor Day, but we're also here to celebrate a very special little tree over here. And we're also going to have a dedication not only of the tree, but of the garden and an official opening of our Peace Garden. And I've asked several people to come in and say a few words. We're fighting aircraft, but I want to go ahead and set out a few ground rules. I mean, we are supposed to abide by COVID protocols. We seem to have a little bit of a difference between what the CDC is saying and maybe what the governor is saying, but CDC is kind of implying that if we are outdoors, had our shots, that maybe we're safe enough to talk without it. I personally cannot talk with the mask on very well, nor can I understand people talking with masks. So I'm going to give the speakers the ability, if they so choose, to take their masks off, but will all of you please abide by proper protocols and stay safe. There's one other announcement I need to make. As you notice, this is being taped, and we have both the City of Independence, which is going to be live streaming this, I guess, on your website. And then we have Dave Hedberg, sorry, I'm sorry to blow it. They are making a documentary, and so they are filling the proceedings as well. He's making an effort to go to each and every one of the special trees that have been planted around the state. And somewhere along the way, I guess this documentary will come out to make the information about these trees available to the public. So what I'm going to do is just give you a brief rundown on our program here. I'm going to start with Darrell Ward to tell us a little bit about this tree, what it is, where it came from, how he got it. And it was also Darrell's proposal that with such a special tree, maybe we need a place to put it, which gave rise to the Peace Garden. After Darrell is done, I want to recognize a few people to give them credit for some of the work that's been done here and appreciate their efforts. And then I'm going to take a quick minute, and I'm so long-winded it won't be that quick, but we do have what we call some symbolic elements that occur within the garden here. And I'd like to just briefly explain what some of those are. And then by that time, we do have a special guest, a very special lady that will be here, and they're running late, but hopefully she will be here by the time we get around to that, who will speak to us a little bit more about the origins of the tree. I'll let the mayor take the final leg of the presentation here and ask him in his official capacity to dedicate and open the garden, even though it's been here for a year, if that works. So, Darrell, would you like to come up here and please tell the group here a little bit about what that thing is, where it came from, why, how? Well, have at it.
Thank you, Bill. And David, before I forget it, because you know my memory is short, the name you're supposed to help me remember is Sean Stevenson. Okay. I'm certainly pleased to be here today, and a call we just got from Estelle Vollner, who's traveling with Hidiko Tamura, said that they took a wrong turn out of Silverton, and we're going to be a little late, but they'll certainly be here, and I hope you all get a chance to meet her. She is the director of the One Sunny Day Initiative based out of the Medford-Grants Pass area. And one of her board members is Estelle, who's traveling with her. She's a remarkable 85 years old, young. She had a brilliant career as a psychiatric physician counseling cancer patients out of the University of Chicago, which was very akin to the kind of people that she became and so many of her friends became after the Hiroshima blast. There was the feeling of guilt and depression, and why did I live and why did my mother die, these types of things. And she became a counselor for people with some very similar feelings. But to to tell the story of the tree is really the story of Hidiko, because it started with her and it's continuing with her. Going back to August 6, 1945, she was a young lady of 10 years old sitting in her grandfather's compound. I think you probably would have called it the clan compound because the Japanese groups were that type at that time in clans. It was a very expansive garden, as he was the leading industrialist, the grandfather was, in Hiroshima. They were a few miles from downtown. She was sitting in the backyard reading. They had happened to come back to Hiroshima from the countryside where she had been sent, as many of the children were sent to avoid the blast. But they came back a day early instead of staying over. And so she was in town on that fateful day. At about 10 a.m. in the morning, she was sitting in this small compound. She noticed the brilliant red and orange sky, followed by a white, brilliant light that hurt her eyes. And then came complete darkness, the rumble of the blast, and the tornado-type winds, and from the blast that came in to destroy the compound where she was at. One of her aunts that was in the compound escaped fairly unhurt. She helped her find a way to crawl backwards out of where she was trapped. And she fortunately came out with just a minor injury. She had a piece of glass embedded in her foot. But there was so much injury and devastation with the rest of the family that they were trying to doctor and take care of. No one had time to bandage or take care of the foot of a 10-year-old girl. So she remembered what her mother had told her. And her mother and her best friend, a cousin, were downtown right at the center of the blast, cleaning debris from the earlier bombing. So of course they didn't survive that. Her father was a captain in the Imperial Army, and he was at a very near seaport in charge of the shipping of incoming goods and supplies and food. So her mother had told her always walk towards the river, Iota River, which was about 4 miles away. So she began her walk that way, eventually connected with a friend's family that had been there, and later they started the trek east to the area that they were designated to go to in case of bombing. The aftermath of the bombing was very traumatic for her, as I'm sure we would all believe, but the Methodist missionary school, which she was sent to after they came back to Hiroshima, managed to connect her with a counselor that was a lifesaver for her. They eventually got her enrolled in a black college in South Carolina, Bennett College, and she traveled on a tramp steamer to San Francisco, got on a railroad train, and went cross country to Bennett College. Those were her first experiences in America, and one of the most vivid things that she remembered was that, the restrooms were black or the restrooms were white. The seating in the restaurants are segregated, which is something she had never experienced before. She went from Bennett College to Worcester College in Ohio, which is renowned for its programs in psychiatric medicine. It's also renowned, since I lived in Ohio, for its strict traffic enforcement, and which I've experienced. But from there, she then began her career in counseling at the University of Chicago. How she made her way to Medford, I do not know. But the part of getting a tree here in Oregon, and I want to mention before I talk about how we got the tree, you know, it's one thing to have an idea and a kind of a vision of what's going to happen, but somebody has to put it together and do the work. And Bill Leedy and Kay Beatty have been those people. And we would not have the garden if it weren't for them, and it certainly would not look like this if Kay didn't daily perform the maintenance. But anyway, one morning I was reading the Statesman Journal, and Cappy Lynn had a column in the paper about the Hiroshima trees and the availability of them to entities in Oregon through the State Forest Department. We put together a community effort. John Young, one of our master gardeners who's really into historical things, really did a lot of legwork to get really tremendous community support, and both financially and letters of support. And eventually we made the application and was awarded a ginkgo tree. One of the real strong features of getting that tree was the fact that we were incorporating the Rotary International from the Monmouth Independence Rotary Clubs into our peace garden to make it really a complete and very outstanding exhibit, symbol of peace. We received one of, I think, 46 trees. I think about 50 seeds. Hidiko got the seeds from the Green Legacy project in Japan. They gave her, I think, around 50 seeds. She had them incubated and sprouted in a friend's home in Ashland. Eventually they made it to the Department of Forestry for growing out to 3-year plants. And so we got a 3-year plant, and now it's 4 years, I guess. But anyway, it was all because of her initiative and the contact that we were able to make with her and the great support of the City of Independence. Sean Irvine, who's Director of Development, worked very closely with me on the appointment or on the proposal, and without the city clerk, Diane.
Karen Johnson.
Okay. Anyway, without the city clerk to put it all together and make sure it was coordinated and all the pieces got together at the same time, we wouldn't have had a proposal. But I'm very appreciative of being able to have a part of the initial work and be here today. And I really commend this wonderful symbol of peace and love to you. And when Hidiko arrives, I hope you will all be able to meet her. I think she'll have some books available. I'm hoping to get her to sign mine. If you've not read her book, One Sunny Day Initiative, it's over there on the corner of the table. It's something that you just cannot not read. It is a tremendous piece of writing. Bill, thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Darrell. At one point, Darrell, I'm not sure if it was clarified, but basically these trees are originated from seeds that survived the Hiroshima bombing. And these have been then propagated and made available to the various communities. So it makes it a pretty special.
Trees that survived. I thought it was only, but it was 5 ginkgos and 2 persimmons, and then a bunch of cherries and other trees. And but this is, like Bill says, one of the 5 ginkgo trees that survived.
So it has quite a heritage already. All right, thank you. Daryl acknowledged Kay Beatty over here for her help. I was going to acknowledge it too, but she can use a double acknowledgement. Kay, well, one is a consummate shopper, but she's also the one who came up with you see a very complete and very attractive landscaping that we have, not only for the garden itself, but for some of the borders that extend all the way around the garden. And she not only selected plants, but purchased these, and I think she mostly donated them to the city. She's known for doing that. But anyway, we do appreciate her efforts. And then another person I'd like to acknowledge is Joseph Harrington over here. He is our Eagle Scout. We had been working with Joseph, and when we had all these plants here, we thought, well, my gosh, we need some young, energetic bodies to get these things planted. So we had arranged for Joseph and Scout Troop 38 to come in and give us a hand. Well, wouldn't you know, something happened last year when the COVID, what do I want to call it? The COVID restraints started putting into place. Kay and I were left the idea that we have a bunch of trees here that are in pots. They are not going to last long in the pots, and somebody has to get them in the ground. So late one night we snuck in here, or maybe it was the next day, whatever. Anyway, she and I came down here, and we at least got the plants in the ground, got them well watered and fertilized. So we didn't lose our plants. But within a couple of weeks we began to realize, well, Joseph still needs to get that Eagle Scout badge. So we were talking to him, and when the protocols were getting established, we kind of felt, well, if we're outdoors, if we stay far apart, maybe we can make this happen. So Joseph brought his scout troop in here, and we had just the plants, but we had a lot more work to be done. So he took his troop and some of their parents and spread them around. The first project was to get our peace pole in place with metal ring around it, some rocks underneath it. That took several people. Another one was to dig holes for all these posts and get these posts planted in the garden for the post and the rope and the post barrier. And then there was mulch, and he had a brigade of mulch, and some people were loading wheelbarrows, other people were moving wheelbarrows, and other people were dumping, or when they dumped, they were spreading the mulch, and they completed almost the entire garden. Well, I think they did actually. The entire garden ended up more or less looking as it does today. The sidewalk wasn't here. I'll comment on that a little bit later. But we essentially had a fairly complete peace garden at that time. We would have liked last year to have had an Arbor Day celebration. We weren't able to do so, so it has been put off for a complete year, and that's what's prompted our current get-together. What I'd also like to do is talk about some of the symbolic elements in the peace garden. When Daryl proposed that we should have a peace garden, he asked me if I could come up with some sort of a schematic for it, and so I gave it my best shot, whatever. But Daryl and I took it to the city, as he mentioned, to Sean Irvine, and I think Ken Perkins were there. I'll give you some of their input in just a minute here. But the two key elements of the garden are, of course, the Hiroshima ginkgo and the peace pole. The peace pole, as you can see here, says, "May peace prevail on earth." That is actually written in 8 different languages. And we tried to locate it so that as you read it from both this side as well as the north side, you can actually read all 8 languages. The Rotary was very gracious in providing that for us. And as I understand, they have another donation they would like to make. And Ramon, if you're here, I'd like to have Becky and Paul Sieber come forward to receive something additional from the Rotary.
All right. So on behalf of Rotary Club, Rotary Club focuses on, there's a lot of different focuses Rotary focuses on, and really ultimately it's a service-based organization, and one of the focuses is peace building efforts. So this piece was provided by Kelly Phipps. She's a local artist, and really excited to really being able to contribute and really being able to add to this piece that we have in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ramona.
Thank you. Right. Peace, right.
Right.
Okay.
It's
So-
a sheet metal sculpture that's folded like an origami crane.
As a member of Rotary, I'm pleased to present or give whatever to the garden Master Gardeners. As a member of the Master Gardeners, I'm pleased to receive this.
And Becky is the head of our steering committee here at
Right.
Garden, so
I've been looking for this for about 6 months, and I'm not sure where it was, but it's here now, and it will be mounted appropriately in the Peace Garden as a symbol of peace. So, thank you, Rotary, and
Yes, thank you very much. Oh,
thank you, Master Gardeners.
yes. Shall I leave it here for now?
you may.
We'll wait till we get it mounted.
That's right. So thank you, Rotary, for another great donation. Every element we have here just keeps adding to the development and the expanse of this garden. I think making it a truly unique garden. I see that our special guest has arrived. I'll let her get over here, run, or find a seat somewhere, and we'll continue to spend. Care to? Yeah. And this is Nikiko, correct? And yeah, and then you have Estelle with you, who I think will be making an introduction for you later. But okay, I'm going to go ahead and present some of what we have, or what we're calling the symbolic elements of the garden. As I mentioned before, we have the Hiroshima ginkgo and the peace pole are the two key elements here. Behind the peace pole, you'll see a little evergreen there, a tree. It looks a little yellowish and a little greenish. That is actually a Chief Joseph pine. It was donated by David and Kathy Stewart, and we thank you for that. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Chief Joseph, but presumably a hunter found one of these trees in the Walala Mountains in northeastern Oregon. It had this bright yellow color in the fall. Well, that tree has been propagated now and is fairly widely available in the nurseries and whatnot. But the special significance for it is that Chief Joseph, of course, was chief of the Nez Perce tribe, who in the late 1800s was in conflict with the American government over the taking of their lands and being put on reservations. But eventually, he felt that he could fight no more, and for his own sake and for the sake of his people, he negotiated peace with the U.S. government. But he's credited with saying that I will fight no more forever. And so we felt that would be a very appropriate addition to the garden. Behind the Chief Joseph pine, you'll see a pile, or you may or may not see it, but a pile of some wooden timbers and some cement blocks. We call this our rubble pile, and when I presented it to the city, both Sean and Ken gave us some weird looks and said, "No, wait a minute, this is a city park. We don't want a rubble pile in there." Well, the symbolism of the rubble pile is to represent the destruction of war through bombing and various crazy acts. But so our rubble pile is there to represent the destruction from war, and then behind it, we have what we call the Renewal Wall. The Renewal Wall then represents what we feel is the renewal and rebuilding after war, the rebuilding of our cities, our homes, and our very lives. In front of the Renewal Wall are two honeysuckles. Many plants are have been assigned various additional either names or they're known for various things. Honeysuckle is known as a token of love, so we felt that would be appropriate. Flanking the wall are two evergreens. Most of you know those as Arbor vitae. Arbor means tree, vita means life, so we have two tree of life. And then the last element, you'll see 3 roses over here by the rubble pile. The intent was they were supposed to be planted in a delta fashion with the appearance that perhaps one rose was missing. And what we planted them for to symbolize is basically what's called the missing man flying wing formation. And typically on Memorial Day, when the government is having an event, you will see 4 airplanes flying in, and as they approach the event, one airplane peels away and disappears. And this is, excuse me, this is meant to represent and to honor those who have lost their lives in war. So we've combined a bunch of different elements, both of war and its aftermath, and elements of peace. And that's what we hope to have, or help to promote with our garden. The city has been a partner, and this is a city park, of course, but the city has been a partner in this as well. This last year, they gave us this paved sidewalk that you see here, and a bench over here in which you can sit. And this long, winding path is by design. As you come into the Peace Garden, we would like you to be able to take a walk where you have a chance to calm yourself, to reflect, and to even observe some of the plantings around the edge. Kay's gone to a lot of trouble to make sure these bloom at different times of the year, and they'll always be attractive. And as you come over, you'll have a place to sit on the bench where you can then, have peace, reflect a little bit. We've all known and lost loved ones, and if it would just help you to find a more gentle place in your life. We hope it will work, and we hope it will be available, or that you'll make it available for your use. The other thing I wanted to just mention briefly, though, the city also has provided us with 2 new picnic tables, very sturdy tables. And so actually families and other groups can gather here, either having a picnic or a get together, and they're close enough to the garden where they're able to see the garden and reflect on the garden as well. And I'm going on long enough, but one more thing I want to say about the city. Independence is a Tree City, USA. And so every year they collect information on the number of trees that are planted and the number of trees that are removed on city properties. And Master Gardeners work in conjunction with them. We report every year the trees that we have planted. So, of course, the ginkgo, the Chief Joseph pine, the arborvitaes, as well as there's some cypress down there, and others. So these get reported to the city to help them maintain that Tree City status. So I think with that, what I'd like to do, Estelle, would you please introduce Hidiko?
Welcome to Independence.
Thank you.
I'm Estelle Bowler. I'm the board member of One Sunny Day Initiatives. I brought Hidiko up and I made a big mistake driving here, so I'm so sorry that we're late. Hidiko came to the United States for a study. She was in Hiroshima when the atomic bomb went off. She was about 10 years old and survived that, and then it came to the United States for college and has returned.
Is that necessary?
Yes, it is.
It became a social worker in Chicago, worked for many years with children and then with cancer patients, became a specialist in oncology. And that's enough.
That's
okay.
amazing. Yes.
And then when she retired, she came to Oregon, living in Medford, and she joined a peace choir that was there, and in her typical fashion, she loves big projects. She organized a whole troop of us to go to Japan to sing 2006 in a concert. And she's been doing this kind of bridging work between culture, people of different cultures and governments for many, many years, and started One Sunny Day initiatives after we returned from the Peace Choir. So she's been very active, and she's here, and I think ready to speak. Not quite ready. So this is Hidiko Thomas Snyder.
Oh, thank you so much. And thanks to everyone. I don't know if this is turned on. Can you hear? Okay. Oh, I'm so accustomed to just talking in loud voice, so I'm going to try. Everyone here and your community you are representing, thank you so much for inviting this tree to be with you in a beautiful, what I can see of your peace garden. We deeply, deeply appreciate your acceptance and invitation, and I am thrilled that this may stay as a symbol of goodwill, friendship, and hope for a peaceful world, for infinite time. Thank you so much again. I must say, just for you, for the history, 140,000 people perished, including I was an only child, my mother, and my sibling, like all my cousins. Ground Zero had over 8,000 children who were burned alive and perished there, calling for mother's help. But that was a time of war, time of hostility. Our perspectives must be human race surviving together and try to build peace-building culture. And I hope, really from the bottom of my heart, that you go along with the ban treaty and that you help us build a peaceful future. Please support the tree, nurture and care. I told it, welcome to independence, and that it's going to receive your love and care. Thank you so much for being here, and please, being here in your soul. Thank you.
Yeah, the last speaker we have today, and the one that gets to wrap up events here, and also perform an official duty of formally opening our garden, and possibly, I don't know if you want to say something to dedicate this tree, but our mayor, John McCardle, please come and
do my thing.
do your thing.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad to see many of you here. This is a special day on so many fronts. You know, we just heard the story of why this peace garden is here and what it represents. Symbolism is important. Whether it's the master gardeners building a wonderful garden here and in the back with the flowers and communicating and educating people, whether it's the Rotary promoting peace and understanding and communication with each other, whether it's the Scouts who are here learning service and learning that being part of a community. All of this is important. All this collectively works together, and it is the tree is the symbol, but you folks have made this happen. So first of all, thank you to all of you who were involved in making this wonderful park, this wonderful gecko tree, this wonderful garden happen. So give yourselves a big round of applause because you all deserve it. This is an example of the wonderful things that can happen in our community when people work together. An idea, a thought, a vision combined with intentionality makes a real difference. And you can see the results here. And so I have few words to add to the wonderful things that have already been said, except to say thank you so very much. And then my official capacity as mayor of the City of Independence, I officially proclaim this part of the park, this Peace Garden and the Gecko Tree, officially open. And we're so glad it's here. It's just great. So thank you so much for everybody for doing this.